After his amazing performance last night in the Euro semi-finals against France, earning himself the Man of the Match award, after scoring an amazing goal that may end up being the goal of the tournament against France, after having such a good Euro that he may just win Player of the Tournament if he and his nation can go all the way against all the odds to end up winning the whole thing, after getting himself 3 assists in the tournament already and being just 16 years old, turning 17 years old the day before the final. All of the footballing world's focus and attention seems to be on Lamine Yamal, and rightfully so. A player who just a year and a half ago hadn't had a minute of professional football, but is now one of the most talked about players in the world, carrying the future and presence of Spain and Barcelona on his young shoulders. Lamine Yamal, at the age of almost 17 years old, may have only now become a household name globally, but he has been a household name in Spain for almost a year now, and he may finish off his first full professional season being one of the best wingers in the world, as well as winning his first international trophy at just the age of 17. And right now, he is looking like the most promising, electrifying, and just overall breathtaking prospects and wonderkids we have ever seen in football. But just what makes Lamine Yamal so special? Well, that's what we'll be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Back of the Net here. I hope you're all doing well. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Born in Catalonia, Lamine Yamal joined Barcelona's youth academy setup at just the age of 7 years old. Growing up in Masia, Yamal was viewed as one of the best prospects around the club and one of the most promising talents throughout the stacked Barcelona academy. And at the age of just 15 years old, before he had even signed a professional contract with Barcelona, Lamine Yamal was selected with several other young talents by then head coach Xavi to train with Barcelona's first team in September 2022. And in April 2023, Lamine Yamal would see his first call up to the senior team, being an unused substitute in Barcelona's 1-0 win against Atletico and a 2-1 loss to Vallecano just 3 days later. And just 3 days after that loss, Lamine Yamal would go on to make his debut for Barcelona in the last 7 minutes of a comfortable 4-0 victory over Real Betis, and become the 5th youngest player in laliga history, and also becoming the youngest player to appear for Barcelona since 1922 at the age of just 15 years old, 9 months and 16 days. Lamine would then get called up for Spain's under-17 team for the Euros, in which Lamine Yamal would be the best player, scoring 4 goals and getting 2 assists, including a banger in the semi-final against France that Spain would end up losing 3-1, and just a year later he scored another banger against the senior France, where Spain would end up winning 2-1. Despite Lamine's lack of experience and having just turned 16, Yamal would quickly become a regular at the beginning of the season for Barcelona this season, starting in 3 of Barcelona's opening 4 games of the league campaign, seeing himself even get 2 assists in a 4-3 win against Villarreal. This would be enough to get his first senior call-up for Spain by De La Fuente, making his debut against Georgia that would see Yamal register a goal in a 7-1 victory for Spain over Georgia. Yamal would then go on to make 50 appearances for Barcelona across all competitions of the season, scoring 7 goals and getting 10 assists at the age of just 16. Not only is that incredible stats for a 16-year-old getting his first full season of professional football, but when you consider that he scored a goal in the Super Cup semi-final, got an assist against PSG in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, scored a goal in the quarterfinal of the Copa del Rey against Bilbao, it makes those stats look even more impressive for a 16-year-old that had the whole of Spain talking about him. And now at the Euros, Lamine Yamal hasn't only just been impressive for a 16-year-old, but he has been arguably the best player of the whole tournament, announcing himself to the footballing world when the lights are at their brightest. The 16-year-old has been one of, if not Spain's best players throughout the tournament, scoring a goal and getting 3 assists in a Euro campaign for Spain that has seen them win every single game of the competition so far, seen them breeze past the group of death with Albania, Italy and Croatia, and seen them knock out the hosts in Germany in the quarterfinals, and knock out most people's favorites in France in the semi-finals. Lamine Yamal does not play like any 16-year-old I have ever seen. He is so much quicker than any defender he goes up against. He has an elite first touch. He's an amazing dribbler. He's really composed and has a very high football IQ, not just for his age, but for any player in the world. And he has a magical left foot that is capable of doing wonders. Lamine Yamal is able to hold the width out wide and whip in amazing crosses on both his left foot and his weaker right foot. Lamine Yamal is also willing to work back and defend, which is very rare for someone so talented as him. Lamine Yamal is more than capable of also cutting in from the right hand side and unleashing an amazing strike in that so-called Robin zone right outside the box, where he unleashes a strike from the gods on his left foot. He is an elite ball carrier, elite in one-on-one positions, and he has surprisingly good passing and surprisingly good movement for someone so young and so inexperienced. And the only real weakness in Lamine Yamal's game is just his overall strength and physicality, but that is to be expected at his young age. But I mean, even so, you still look at it, he still has proven to hold his own in the physicality department despite being so young, but that would be his only real weakness in his game so far. Now, the only thing that worries me about Lamine Yamal's future is, and I hope this never actually becomes a real thing, but is his injuries. Not that he ever really has been injured or injured significantly yet. I mean, he's just played 50 games at club level this past season, but we have seen this too commonly in football when a young player plays as much as he has at such a young age. It can lead them to becoming somewhat injury prone. I mean, you look at a recent example in Pedri, and if you go further back, you look at a guy like Jack Wilshere or even Gareth Bale. They played so much from such a young age that it does break their bodies down. Listen, I'm not hoping this ever becomes a problem for Lamine Yamal, but I'm worried that if he keeps playing as much as he has, if his minutes don't get regulated at such a young age in men's football, where defenders are looking to stop him any way they can, whether that be foul him, tackle him, whatever it is, then I worry that in the future, he may just become an injury-prone player. Again, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but we saw this happen with Pedri. Gavi's injured right now. We saw this happen with Ansu Fati. In the past, we've seen this happen with Jack Wilshere. I hope this never becomes an issue, but this is something in the back of my mind that I'm a little bit worried about. But listen, overall, it is just so good to see in a modern football game where so many players, 90% of players, are quote-unquote system players. Someone like Lamine Yamal, at the age of 16, still has so much individual brilliance, and it's just such a joy to watch, taking on players left and right and constantly being the star in the game. One thing I also love is his mentality. In all interviews, he seems very grounded, very humble, and you look at the controversy he had with Rabiot. Rabiot came out before the game against Spain and said some things about Lamine Yamal, that if Spain want to win, Yamal has to be much better. And what Yamal did was not answer at all, score an absolute banger in front of Rabiot, and then post a story where he basically says his actions will speak louder than his words. That is such a good mentality to see from someone so young. And there's also a huge aspect about Wonderkids that not too many people talk about. It's the mentality. We've seen so many kids get gassed up about how good they are. Balotelli and maybe someone like James Rodriguez are maybe examples of that, even though I know James Rodriguez is absolutely a GOAT right now for Colombia, but that's another topic for another day. Lamine Yamal seems very humble, very grounded, and that is a huge part about a Wonderkid fulfilling their potential. And if Lamine Yamal can keep progressing, if his minutes can be monitored, and he avoids the injury plague, and he keeps performing how he has, well then the Ballon d'Or is right around the corner for the 16-year-old superstar of Spain and Barcelona.